Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10, episode 127, December 7th, 2025. I'm your host, T Weave. With me, as always, is Andrew, but there is no Allison tonight. She's on another vacation.
Yeah, hiatus. She's on hiatus in sunny, not so sunny Florida. I heard there was a thunderstorm earlier today. Um, that's just not cool. Like nobody likes thunderstorms.
No,
But
especially when you're spending a lot of money to go on vacation.
well, and let's face it, whenever you go to Florida and you go to the most magical place and the happiest place on earth, Disney World,
Mhm.
you're gonna drop some coin, Terry. About like the Weaver house at Christmas, from what I heard.
Well, I'm not very disciplined. I see things that would be good to get people, and I just pull the trigger, and my bank will let me know how bad I did with that soon, I'm sure.
Well, Terry, it's you got to be decisive. I mean, it's okay. You're only dad once, so and they're
Exactly.
only young once. Even though he looks like a monster these days, not ugly wise, but
Or they're
he's
about
what
the same size,
6'7". I will say
5'8",
6'7",
but yeah.
6'7", six
Yeah,
seven.
oh, when I
Isn't that what the kids
oh,
do?
have you seen the Grinch thing with that? It's like some kid said 6'7" to the Grinch, and he goes, 8'9".
I love Grinch. Of course, you know that it is Christmas time, and the
It
Grinch is
is.
my favorite. I wonder why. I threatened to wear green all week or all month at work. Um,
He's one of those that you would say, "He's not a villain."
yeah, exactly. The Grinch is not a villain. The Grinch was doing the Lord's work. The little woohoo people or the Who people, they needed a little wake up call, but anyway, yeah, Allison's not here, and this was not planned, but the timing could not have been better. So just up front, Terry, there's no wrestling tonight. There's
Right. We might
no
see a couple of logos. We might say, "Hey, Saturday night's main event's coming up," but other than that, nothing.
there's no alternate list. Um
It's all football.
it's all football all day, all night. And the thing is, like when we were talking football, we're going to talk some serious football today. We got conference championships, the 12-team playoff, and as voted on by you, the listeners and viewers of TNA Top 10, the greatest college football coaches of all time.
That's right. And I got a couple of maps. We're going to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about new
I forgot about the
coaches
the
and
fired and hired coaches, Terry. Should we open
yes.
up the program today? We don't have it on the list, but let's go ahead and talk about Auburn.
Okay.
Auburn has hired Alex Goulash with the greatest line. Ah, George is here. Greetings from Disney. I was looking forward to Allison's football analysis. If Cincinnati comes up, she knows what to say.
That's right.
Um, but the let's talk about Alex Goulash, my favorite introduction of a head football coach. I don't fucking golf. I what was it? I don't fucking golf.
Fish.
I don't fucking fish. I don't have hobbies. I coach ball. Now,
That's right.
I'm really rooting for somebody like this to come to Lincoln, Nebraska. So, Terry, tell me what has happened in a week since Alex Goulash has assumed the role of head ball coach at Auburn.
Well, unfortunately, he was hired about 2 days before signing day, so it's not like we could really impress anything there. Lowest signing day ranking in a while in the 30s. Hugh Freeze was not a lot of things we wanted him to be, but he was in the top 10 in recruiting. So we didn't have that this year. We're gonna have to look hopefully keep some players. That's been the rumors, who's leaving, who's going. Everybody else's fans are saying we're going to grab Coleman, we're going to get Deuce Knight and all that. And they may, but so far we've had 5 or 6 that have um, entered the portal, but the big names have not. Um,
Right.
Perry Thompson probably is the biggest name. He was maybe the number 4 receiver on the team. He was a 5-star receiver, came in the same year as Cam Coleman. Coleman obviously was the top guy. Perry Thompson has not been that number 2 or 3 guy. He's kind of been in there. It's probably good for him to move somewhere else. Maybe he can find somewhere where he's going to be more part of the offense. So good.
And not to interrupt you, but do you think Jackson Arnold is not as good as the receiver? Because he's in the portal.
I wonder. So what we saw, Hugh Freeze came down. He got Peyton Thorne for a couple of years, and Peyton Thorne threw for 3,500 yards at Michigan State. Sorry, I had an interruption there.
That's fine. But Peyton Thorne threw for 3,500 yards at Michigan State.
Yeah, and he threw for a lot of yards at Auburn too, but we just didn't score. And then Jackson Arnold comes in, who was a 5-star guy out of college, out of high school. He went to Oklahoma, kind of disappointing freshman year. He comes to Auburn, disappointing sophomore year. I expect Jackson Arnold to find maybe a non-SEC, non-Big Ten team, maybe go to the Big 12. I think he's still got something in him that can be pretty good. So I'm hoping that happens for him, because it's not like he had a bad attitude and didn't try. I just don't think he could handle it.
Right. And you wonder, too, how much of this is Freeze's fault, because you and I were talking before the show started. I believe that Auburn undisputedly had the number 1 defensive line in the SEC. I don't think it's close. And Alex Wheaton is finally back. Alex, apparently in a runaway, I am the champion because you quit putting your picks in. But welcome back to the show.
And as did the computer, because I only got half the picks in because I realized it Friday night after the games were already over.
Yeah, so I am the champion. No excuses, Terry. We're gonna have a bracket for the playoffs. We're gonna have the bowl game pick'ems, which I've also won before. Y'all know. I would hate to rub it in, but I'm the champ on that too. Bryant Haremza, if you're still listening, don't know how the egg show's going these days, but you should join again. You were my really only competition for the bowl games that one year. But anyway, Terry, so undisputedly Auburn's defensive line, best in SEC. You had plenty of pieces and weapons for Auburn to have a 10-win season, but you didn't put it together, and that leads me to believe it's a head coaching problem. If you can't get the team to play together, it's a head coaching problem.
This close over and over again. If you keep losing, you know this. You've talked about this with Nebraska for a long time. When you're this close to winning big games and you keep not winning them, you're not close.
Yeah.
I mean, you have hit your limit. That's the real problem. And Hugh Freeze, for whatever reason, in 2025, I think he did pretty well at Liberty before he came to Auburn, but I think the SEC matured and he came in and he wasn't good enough to hang in the SEC anymore when he came in. And that's just kind of the story.
And now you've got a young coach with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, and all he knows is ball. So I am very excited for this.
He took South Florida. Sorry. He took South Florida. They had 4 total wins in the 3 years before he came. He improved every season, and he had 9 wins this year.
And this is the same man who terrorized Nick Saban in the rain, and Alabama only beat USF 17-3 after being a 35-point favorite away. I mean, it was at home for USF, but Alabama, a 35-point favorite, benches Jalen Milroe, if you remember, Terry.
That's right.
And I mean, they win by 2 touchdowns, ugly, in South Florida. On the Nebraska front, 2 things happened that nearly stopped Nebraska football. The defensive coordinator, John Butler, after season 1 is fired. This may have been mentioned last week. I don't know. I think they did fire him before we went on last Sunday night. He has been replaced by Rob Ulrich of San Diego State University, who took the number 97 scoring defense in the country and made them the number 9 scoring defense in the country this year. Number 1 scoring defense in the Mountain West, or number 1 overall defense. So we'll see. He runs a 4-2-5 versus a 3-3-5. So maybe it's time we get away from Tony White's 3-3-5. when you had Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmaker eating up space on the front, that makes all the difference in the world when you have undersized linemen by 50 pounds against these Big Ten offensive lines, which we're going to talk about a little later with Ohio State and Indiana. You're going to lose football games. So the 4-2-5 may actually benefit. Then the second thing, and this is a bigger domino in Nebraska world, Donovan Raiola, uncle to Dylan Raiola, was fired yesterday as the offensive line coach. In 40 minutes, he was replaced by Jeep Walls out of Georgia Tech.
Is that how you pronounce it? Jeep?
Jeep. Yeah, so he's got to – hold on, I'm going to tell you what it is because you asked. This guy, it's crazy because his name is really strange.
Is this short for something?
Jeep Wade is actually short for something, yes. So where is it? It's so they hired Jeep Wade. He's actually George something Wade the third or whatever. Okay. And his 4-star offensive lineman Peyton Joseph has entered the transfer portal. So Nebraska may pick that up as well. But this guy has a number 9 rushing defense or rushing offense in the country, Terry, Georgia Tech, big quarterback, Heisman candidate. So people reading the tea leaves at the University of Nebraska, number 1, the brother decommitted 2 weeks ago to play at Nebraska in 2026, Dayton Raiola. Right. Dylan hasn't been heard or seen from. Rumor was he moved out of his on-campus apartment, and I mean packed up everything and left. His uncle has just been fired as the offensive line coach, and now the offensive line coach that replaced his uncle in 40 minutes from one announcement to the next is coming from a team that runs the football. I personally think Dylan Raiola is gone. I think he's going to hit the portal. You're bringing in the wrong type of coach if you are going to have a pass protection offensive line. They don't pass pro at Nebraska. That was the problem. But Emmett Johnson is the best running back in the country behind this offensive line. And now you're going to have a real offensive line coach that's going to be teaching people how to run block.
Right.
We may be back, Terry. We may be back. That's all I'm saying.
And Auburn has similar problems just based on having a history of running backs as opposed to a passing game. Our offensive line was supposed to be very good this year and could not pass block for shit.
Yeah. 28 sacks up until the time Raiola got injured. He got injured on the 28th sack, broken tibia. At some point, there was so much traffic in the backfield, it was inevitable somebody was going to get hurt, be that an offensive lineman or the quarterback. Somebody was going to get hurt, and it happened to be the quarterback. Nebraska starts run blocking, and all of a sudden, the remainder of the season, they have 2 sacks they gave up against Penn State and Iowa defense.
Yeah.
Pretty good defenses they played against.
Right.
Gave up 2 sacks. So I'm excited for the fact that it looks like Rule has upgraded the coaching situation, but Matt Rule still is a sucky head coach. He's a great mouthpiece. He's a great face of the company, if you will, but he hasn't proven to me that in the fire, he's going to call the play that's going to win the football game. And to your point earlier, I would rather lose by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Than be winning and have the game taken from me by a field goal at 0-0-0-0 hits the scoreboard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the problem is if you lose a game, how good are you going to be at identifying what you did right and identifying what you did wrong? And if you keep saying, we just had bad luck, we could have won that game, you're not identifying what you did wrong enough to fix it. And you're going to keep down that same path.
Well, you've heard me pontificate about this even privately. When Michigan sacked Raiola 5 times in the first half of the game, but Nebraska was within a touchdown, or it might have even been a field goal, I said, let's put in the mobile quarterback, because the way you stop a blitzing defense and an over-aggressive defense is quarterback draw, screen game, and then you beat them in the over pursuit with the quick outs, with a quick release. Raiola ain't got a quick release. He ain't running from anybody, and he ain't going to play quarterback draw. So why would you not put in the quarterback with the legs?
Right.
And that was the thing. And that's a coaching mistake, Terry. That's my point. It's a coaching mistake to not recognize what we are doing is not working. 8 sacks to Michigan, 9 sacks to Minnesota. This offensive line has to get better regardless of who the quarterback is, and hopefully these hires help.
And I kind of said this last week, I guess, but there were a couple of plays, even though, Ty Simpson hasn't been doing great the last few weeks. In the Iron Bowl, he made a couple of plays, letting the defensive line put pressure on him, but a couple of times he backpedaled a little bit and then hit a guy downfield. Yeah. And it was like they were playing Auburn's aggressiveness against them.
Yep.
And it was enough. And it's just like you said, if it's a screens, draws, slants, whatever you're calling to defeat that kind of thing, they came up with a plan. It worked. Sometimes it's simple, and you play the defense against their tendencies.
Yep. And if we're not so worried about a 19 or 20-year-old kid's ego, you bench his ass because the better option is his backup.
Right.
But we are so concerned with what Raiola thinks at Nebraska. I truly believe the decision has been made that he's gone because they fired his uncle.
Right.
I just think the decision's been made. And Nebraska certainly, Terry, was not in championship week, which is, they haven't been for 25 years, but we still root for them. Championship week, a couple of the lesser games, as I would call them, but I believe yours.
We're talking about all of them, yeah.
I believe yours truly called the biggest game of the weekend correctly. And I also picked Duke to beat Virginia, but let's get into it, Terry. What do you got for championship Saturday?
Well, the first one is I didn't go in exact order because they had them kind of out of order. But Tulane took a big lead. Summerall still coaching Tulane through the postseason before he goes to Florida. They took a big lead, but North Texas kind of battled back. North Texas's coach is headed to Oklahoma State.
Eric Morris, yeah.
Yeah. So they were battling each other in this championship game. Tulane put it on them. North Texas fought back, but Tulane won the football game, and they found their way into the playoffs here.
The statistic that jumps off the screen, and then part of the game that I watched, 5 turnovers. Guess what you don't do when you turn the ball over 5 times? You don't win football games.
That's right.
If the other team has half a football team on the field playing ball, you do not win football games when you turn the ball over 5 times. Congratulations to Tulane. They've made it to the college football playoff. Spoiler for those of you who didn't see that today. Terry and I will be discussing that momentarily. But, it was going to be North Texas or Tulane the way it looked like. And Tulane,
I think North Texas was 1 spot ahead of Tulane in the CFP poll last week.
Yeah. So the winner of this game all but was assured, as long as Duke won, all but was assured a spot in the playoff. So good for Tulane, good for Summerall, because there's you talk about some fan bases. Nebraska's bad online. We've talked about Auburn online, but the Florida Gators, other than maybe the sourpusses at Ole Miss for losing Big Lane to LSU and Baton Rouge, and then Florida absolutely eating up the John Summerall hire.
Absolutely. They want sexy with every hire.
Every hire. But sexy has gotten fired in Gainesville.
It has.
I mean, over and again, sexy has gotten fired in Gainesville.
They fired
Dan Mullen prematurely. And look what he did with the University of Las Vegas.
They think they're doing the same thing. They're comparing him to Napier. They think they're going down the same road. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think there's reasons he's not Billy Napier.
And the funny thing is, and we'll get into that, Napier is going on to James Madison. That is a playoff team this year. So,
It's crazy. I do have a map, and it is complicated. Let's move on
yes,
to the
sir.
Sun Belt and James Madison. They beat Troy. This is the first of 3 losses for Alabama teams in championship week here. Troy University is in Troy, Alabama, for those that don't know that. And James Madison just put it on them. Troy had negative 26 rushing yards in this game.
Yeah, the if you can't run the ball at championship Sunday or Saturday, Friday, you can't win football games. So good for JMU. I don't think they were ever doubted to win this game. I think James Madison was the odds-on favorite to beat Troy, and they took care of business. And now, spoiler alert, they get Oregon in Eugene, 18th or 19th of December. Congratulations, guys. I hope you pack a lunch because Eugene, Oregon is going to be lit. And we'll get into that in a minute. Terry.
Yeah, so negative 26 for Troy, but JMU with 318 rushing yards. They controlled the clock and they played defense, and that's how you win football games, especially when you know that you are a more talented team than somebody.
Yep.
Just put it to them.
And you lean on them, and you may not score, Terry, in those first few possessions, but once you start just grinding somebody down and you lean on them, something's going to break loose, and that's what happened for James Madison. But anyway, Kennesaw State out of the big state of Georgia, Braun Breaker home alumni for
Really?
Kennesaw State. Yes,
Did not
sir.
know that. Okay.
Yes.
So this
Kennesaw
is the second
State.
Alabama team that lost their championship game. Jacksonville State, also in Alabama, and they lost the Conference
Yeah.
USA title game.
I mean, it is what it is. This was just a decent football game. Neither of these teams are good teams in terms of, they're not going to compete at the next level. They play in Conference USA, and at the end of the day, Kennesaw State was just a couple plays better, honestly. So, and that's how it went.
To
least what I
me,
saw.
if I compare the conferences and how they compare to each other in 2025 compared to 10 or 15 years ago, Conference USA to me has been the biggest loser of good teams across the board in this whole shakeup of conferences.
Other than the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 is all but defunct.
That's right. But like when you look at like the Sun Belt used to be the worst conference in America.
Yeah.
But you don't say that now.
Mm-mm.
They're better because it looks to me like Conference USA may be that. Not to bring these teams down. Congratulations to them for reaching this, but it really is. They've had teams robbed from them in the past 10 years or so, and it's a shame. But Kennesaw State in their second season at this level, they make the Conference USA title game and win it against Jacksonville State. And nobody really. I mean, it was a defensive game. Nobody really had a lot of offense. Odom for Kennesaw State had 246 yards passing, and 26 of 32, pretty good, pretty efficient there.
But no points. That means obviously there was some bow up from the other side,
Right.
But no turnovers. So there you go. But yeah, Conference USA, Terry, is Conference USA, and ESPN asking me to pick these in my victory as to who's going to win. And I did pick Kennesaw State correctly. So there you go.
Well, let's go to the Mountain West.
I didn't pick
some
this
names
one
that we know. We got UNLV, who you had picked. I don't remember who I picked at the start of the year to be the G5. We thought it would be just one, but apparently there's two. But UNLV loses to Boise State, 38-21. Madsen, the quarterback for Boise State, with 389 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's going to do it, especially 9 penalties for 70 yards for UNLV.
And timely penalties for Boise State. This is also on the blue carpet. I am still that guy that makes this very difficult to watch when Boise's got their bright-ass blue field on HD television. It's hard to watch a Boise State football game. And Boise State gets it done. They will not be in the playoff. Of course, they win the Mountain West again. How many times is that, Terry? Just keep racking them up in the Mountain West. Right. Are they in agreement to be the opponents of the Pac-12 next year. Is that right?
There's
I think.
something. So those that don't follow, Oregon State and Washington State are the Pac-12 for now, but they have some kind of agreement with the Mountain West, or there might be teams joining the Pac-12 from the Mountain West. I'm not sure of the details, but we need to look into
Yeah.
that for next
We
year.
can, but season for them. I think they finished 9-4, which in Boise world is horrible. I mean, that's bad for them. That's bad. This is the same team that produced Genty last year.
Right.
And he was a beast. Just ran into a Penn State defense at an inopportune time. So, anyway, we'll talk Penn State in a minute too, Terry. I heard they got a head football coach. I don't know.
They didn't know if they were going to, but they did get one. But let's move on to the MAC.
Oh, Miami of Ohio lost, and I picked them too. What in the world?
So Western Michigan beats Miami of Ohio 23-13. Another pretty good defensive game. A lot of field goals being kicked. Nobody really throwing it around or running all over the place in this game. But, 23-13, Western Michigan is the MAC champions for 2025.
Yeah, and I think they beat Miami of Ohio earlier in the season, if I remember correctly. But again, a game that means nothing except to these teams, because even when you're starting to look at bowl games and such, which we will get into maybe, I know that you said Auburn finished 5-7, Nebraska finishes 7-5, and they get a December 31st date with Utah, which I'm real excited about. Let me tell you.
You know what's going to happen? Utah is going to play the way you've been predicting they would for the first time in 3 years against Nebraska in this bowl game.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. Particularly since Emmett Johnson decided to go to the NFL. I missed that part. Number one running back in the country is declared for the draft as a junior. The offensive line coach is starting the job Monday, though, so we'll see what he does there. But getting into this whole thing with bowl games and just joking a little bit, but like Nebraska sells tickets. That's why they give them a December 31st game. They're going to sell tickets. And don't make a mistake about it. This is business. So when you see the teams like Miami of Ohio or Western Michigan get a December 20th bowl game, the reason for that is they're not going to put butts in the seats. And that's really the truth. Anyway, do we have some big games? Oh, here we go.
ACC title game, the last one that finished up, and Duke pulls it off in overtime against Virginia. Duke had lost to Virginia earlier in the season. They got a little bit of revenge, and they took the conference championship without finding their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, so by the back half of the end of this game, Duke was controlling the line of scrimmage, and they were running at will. I mean, it was not close. They were running the ball as they wanted to, and they go to overtime. Duke scores a touchdown, and they had possession first, and you always want possession first in overtime. You want to set the tone for what the other team has to do, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are people that think that, well, we need to see if we can just kick a field goal and get away with it. But if I'm Duke and I have been running the ball down Virginia's throat for the last 30 minutes, guess what we're going to do? We're going to run the ball down their throats. But you know what they did instead, Terry? The touchdown comes on a pass instead of a run play in overtime. And then Virginia, first play of the game of overtime, interception, ball game. 21 for 40. If I'm a Virginia fan, and I appreciate what Tony Elliott did as the offensive coordinator for Clemson, helped him win a national championship. But if I am a Virginia fan, this is what I'm asking. Can we run the ball some? 40 passing attempts? I mean,
with only 21 completions. I mean, he's barely got 50%.
And 2 interceptions. I mean, come on. You know, you don't win football games that way, Terry.
You don't. And they lost the ACC championship.
And lost the spot in the playoff, because if Virginia had won, they would have been in the playoff.
Above Tulane. Was James Madison above Tulane, or was it the other way? I don't remember.
Might have been the other way. I think it was Tulane above James Madison, because I want to say James Madison was number 25 in the country.
Okay. Let's go to the Big 12, and there was no
Woo!
contest for the second time this season. Texas Tech puts it to BYU for a second time. BYU had 200 total yards and 4 turnovers, and that combination of things does not help.
And that's the problem. So 4 turnovers from a very disciplined football team. Otherwise, this coach Sataki, I think how do you
Oh, yeah.
Sakati, however you say his name, he's a Hawaiian. He was targeted by Penn State. They signed him up at BYU. They've played very good disciplined football the last 2 years. And against Texas Tech, they've had the same problem. They've turned the ball over. You don't win football games, you turn the ball over. Now, I said BYU was going to win this football game and it was going to be close, but they were going to get their revenge. That did not happen. And Texas Tech hammers home the fact that they are the number 4 seed in the playoff this year with the Big 12 championship.
And with a bye.
Yeah, I saw this joke, and you'll appreciate it, Terry, that somebody said it only took Texas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska leaving the Big 12 for Texas Tech to win a Big 12 championship. Because you remember the year that Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State finished 11-1. And Oklahoma gets the nod based on strength of schedule. But Texas Tech had Michael Crabtree that year, of course, coached by the Pirate, our favorite Mike Leach, Air Raid, and Graham Harrell. Remember that old – was he for Oklahoma State? Graham Harrell. Yeah, Graham Harrell was for Texas Tech, and then Wheaton was Oklahoma State, a 27-year-old quarterback back then, But that was a great football season in the Big 12. But I saw that joke, and I couldn't help myself but laugh. But Texas Tech spent $50 million between the coaching staff, the facilities, and the NIL, and they got themselves a football team. Oh, look, Allison's here. Hi, I miss you. I'm drunk on vacation. Well, Allison, just for you, Sorsby, the quarterback at Cincinnati, is fielding multiple offers in excess of $4 million to go play elsewhere with NIL money. $4 million, Terry, they're paying a college quarterback from the Big 12 at Cincinnati. $4 million.
My goodness. Too much. He's a jerk.
Well, you know who went to Cincinnati. So there you go, Allison. Cincinnati, your favorites went to Cincinnati. But anyway, Terry, I heard there was another big game that happened, and it happened at Mercedes-Benz Stadium that has been accused of being Alabama's home away from Tuscaloosa for years.
Not last night, no.
There it is.
Georgia, 28-7 over Alabama. Alabama, -3 rushing yards. Like we said, you got to be able to run the ball. 209 total yards. And Georgia, I mean, they didn't put up huge numbers, but when you can hold Alabama down like that, you're going to win the football game.
Well, they got a block punt, took advantage of the punt, got the touchdown, got another touchdown, had a couple of really long, sustained drives where Stockton didn't necessarily make mistakes. And, Georgia's defense just ate. And, I mean, -3 rushing yards on Alabama shows exactly what Kirby Smart's game plan was to take down Alabama. They were going to make what's his name? The quarterback. You just said it.
Simpson.
Alabama's quarterback.
Ty Simpson.
They were going to make Simpson throw the ball.
Yeah.
To beat them. And he did not do that well either. So you got a lot of talent in Alabama. Now, Terry, 2 years, DeBoer has made the playoff again. He has the same record Nick Saban did, second year. But remember, Saban went 7-5 year one at Alabama.
Lost to UL Monroe, They were pretty bad when they got hired,
Yeah. They ran through us like shit through a tin horn, and we could not stop them. Quote of the year. And then the guy at the gas station who says, well, I don't know, we need to fire that guy, didn't recognize Nick Saban after they lost to University of Louisiana Monroe. But there are people thinking that it's time to fire DeBoer because he did not win the SEC championship against a very gritty Georgia football team. So
based on the games that Auburn played this year, here's how I rank the top teams in the SEC. Just only the ones that Auburn played. Auburn did not play Texas. I'm leaving them out. This is just based on games against Auburn. Georgia's the only team that beat beat Auburn by more than a touchdown. So I put them up top. Second team, Texas A&M, then Oklahoma, and I got Alabama at 4, just based on the games that Auburn played against the SEC this year.
Yeah. And let's face it, Alabama did not necessarily win the Iron Bowl. Auburn might have lost the Iron Bowl with the mistakes they made.
Lost a lot, but I will say this, and I'll put it to the side. I'm not going to complain. Alabama's in the playoff, whatever. But 2017, Auburn stomps Georgia, wins the Iron Bowl, wins the tiebreaker against Alabama in the West, and goes to Atlanta, gets beat by Georgia 28-7, same score, knocked out of the playoffs. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Terry's not a bitter Auburn fan at all.
Yeah, I'm saying there's not much consistency here. Anyway, there is consistency, but not the way we need it. Anyway, Big Ten championship game, 1 versus 2, slugfest. Indiana pulls it off, 13-10. Mendoza's good.
Very good. Took a shot, first play of the game, went down. Brother came in. He came back, threw an interception, But you said it right, Terry. Slugfest. Think Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, 15 rounds, the Thriller in Manila. That's what this was in Indianapolis last night. Who's going to blink? 2 times. Ohio State had the ball in the red zone twice in the second half. No points surrendered or earned. They went into halftime. I believe it was 10-3 or 10-6. Indiana comes out, scores. Ohio State held scoreless for 32 minutes. I have said on this show that Indiana knew they had defensive line problems, and they built a defensive line. They've got a defensive line. They're playing good ball. They've got an offensive line. And I've also said on this show, they have the best X's and O's coach in the country. And last night, he proved it. As good as Ryan Day is calling plays, Curt Cignetti is another level. And I want to remind people of this in case you don't know. Curt Cignetti's first job, major as an assistant, was with Nick Saban, Alabama, national championship team in 2009. Does anybody know what role he had there?
You asked this recently, and I can't remember. It was definitely a position coach, like a tight ends coach or something.
He was the wide receivers coach and the recruiting coordinator.
Okay.
This guy knows how to find the right people to come play for him, is my point. And you and I've said it. Nick Saban said it. You can pay people all you want, but if you're not paying the right players, who cares? What difference does it make?
I saw somebody talking about Nick Saban being really good at roster management today. And what I mean by that is you can go out and get all the 4 stars you want, but if they don't line up with positions you need, then you're just loading up on a bunch of talent.
Yep.
And talent is not what wins football games. Putting the right pieces in place. And some of those guys are the 3 stars. And that's what you're talking about. He takes the right guy who gives a crap how many stars he has. He knows this guy plays the game the way I want him to play the game. I can use him. I'm going to make him work and get better. And we're going to do this as a team, and we're going to be better. And that's why Indiana is the only undefeated team in the country.
And you've got to give it to Cignetti. He takes the worst FBS program in history, a basketball school, and in 2 years, they're the Big Ten champions. He's lost 2 games in 2 years, 1 to Ohio State last year, and then in the playoff to Notre Dame. He is the only coach in history other than Urban Meyer, who may or may not come up later in our main event of the show, Terry, who has ever in his second season won a Big Ten championship. The only coach ever. So Curt Cignetti's the real deal. And Indiana recognized that early. They paid him a lot of money to stick with them.
Right.
$90 million to be the football coach at Indiana. So
And
congratulations.
look, James Madison's in the playoff now too, and that's where he left. So
And Billy Napier, a Power 4 Florida head football coach, is now going to be the coach of James Madison. What does that tell you about James Madison, Terry? I'm not trying to be funny. He didn't
no, they're a
jump
good
from
program.
another Power 4 team. He
And this
went
goes
to
back
James
to my
Madison.
this goes back to my Sun Belt comment because I believe they're in the Sun Belt. So, the Sun Belt used to be just a bunch of teams that would get run over by the SEC. There's some better teams in the Sun Belt today than there were 10 years ago.
Yep. And they might have a puncher's chance against more than half of the SEC teams right now.
Right.
Except Vanderbilt, because Vandy's untouchable. And got screwed out of the playoffs, but we'll get there.
So I mentioned it a minute ago. Here's the graphic. The only undefeated team in the country is the Indiana Hoosiers. So what's next? We got our top 10 based on the happenings of this weekend. Thanks everybody that voted. Let me run it down. Number 10, Notre Dame at 10-2. Number 9, Miami at 10-2. Number 8, Oklahoma at 10-2. Number 7, Ole Miss at 11-1. Number 6, Texas A&M at 11-1. Number 5, Texas Tech at 12-1. Number 4, Oregon at 11-1. Number 3, Georgia at 12-1. Number 2, Ohio State at 12-1. And Indiana sitting there 13-0, undefeated during the season, and they won the conference championship game. The only undefeated team in the country.
And they slayed Ohio State.
They
and
did.
That cannot be overstated. The coaching coach took his team, his guys, his players, executed the game plan, and defeated the system. And there's a lot to be said about that.
So this does not exactly agree with the CFP committee's list. Let's move on to that. We already know this. This is the graphic from ESPN. You see the teams that are in it. If you're watching us, first round games, number 12, James Madison at Eugene to play Oregon, number 5. Alabama at Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Alabama earlier in the year, so this will be another chance to play that game. Another one, Tulane at Ole Miss, is going to be a repeat. Ole Miss beat Tulane 45-10 earlier in the season, but this time they won't have Lane Kiffin, so that'll be interesting to see. And Texas A&M hosts Miami, the 10 versus 7 game. Hey Ben, how's it going? He just
Ben
up.
here from down under. We're
Good
talking
morning.
About American football, sir. Don't get excited about the thing you kick a round ball with.
Hey, but I've been looking at World Cup tickets, so you know.
Yeah, Terry has a son who kicks the round ball.
He does.
And maybe we'll teach him how to kick the pigskin before it's all said and done.
Maybe he'll make more money that way. I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about.
But the top 4 I didn't mention. We got Indiana at 1, Ohio State just drops to 2, Georgia at 3, and Texas Tech at 4. I'm a little surprised they only put Ohio State at 2. Historically, they would tend to move them down a couple of spots, but that's good. That's good that they did.
I don't think this year they did because it was a 3-point loss to the number 2 team in the country in a conference championship game. And I'm not arguing the point with you specifically, Terry. I saw this online. How's Ohio State number 2? They lost by a field goal to the only other undefeated team in the country in the championship game. That's how they're only number 2.
And they also balanced it out a little bit. They got the number 1 and 2 seeds go to the Big Ten, and 3 of the 4 first-round games are at SEC campuses.
Yeah. And so when you look at this and you see that you've got Alabama, Ohio State, Ole Miss, A&M, and Georgia, 5 of the 12 come from the SEC. Pretty strong. 3 of the 12 come from the Big Ten. Pretty strong.
Yep.
But I don't think James Madison has a punching chance against Oregon and Eugene. And not with Dan Lanning having 12 days from now to prepare for that football game. I just don't. I think Alabama, Ohio, or Oklahoma is probably the game of the week that week.
Yeah.
Maybe A&M Miami, depending on which A&M team shows up. But Mike Elko who we talk a lot about coaching on this show, Terry. We're going to talk some more about coaching later. But Mike Elko is going to have those guys at A&M ready. It's College Station. It's a routines for a playoff game. Against Miami. And you know he'd like nothing more than to just beat Miami by 3 touchdowns at College Station. And we'll get into the predictions next week. But
Bober's not here, Dave.
Bober's not here, Dave. Nobody cares about
out.
hockey. I am watching this show. I sent Allison the name of it. It's a hockey show. You guys, especially you guys that like women, should watch it. It's called Heated Rivalry. So it's on it's on HBO Max, and I would highly recommend it. The first 3 episodes are available to stream now. So there's the only time you're going to get me to put hockey over, and if you watch the show, you'll understand why. But anyway, Terry, do we want to save the playoff talk for next week?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not about to happen, so we might as well. But what we can talk about is this monstrosity of a map that I've put together here. I spent a lot of time on this, researching it and putting all the right guys in the right location. Geographically, I may be off a little bit on some of these locations. I tried to do my best, but I was not dialing it in there. So you can notice that for those listening, I've got my new coaches map updated, and there are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 new coaches for football teams across the country, and half of them are in this little area between Alabama and Oklahoma and Texas and Mississippi and Tennessee and Arkansas. Half of them are right there, right on top of each other.
Dave with the hot take: Tulane, James Madison, and Alabama shouldn't have made it.
Well, we've got a screwed up system.
You can put Tulane in, but where's Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt got screwed. If you're going to put James Madison and Tulane in, I need Diego Pavia in the playoff.
Well, you know my opinion, and I mention this as often as I can. If we're going to have conferences that can't compete with the other conferences, we need to kick them out of the league. I mean, this is the only place you ever see this situation. We know that the Sun Belt champion is not winning the national championship. We know that the Conference USA champion is not winning the national championship. The Big 12 and ACC have been below the Big 10 and the SEC lately, but it hasn't been that long since they've won something. But it's just ridiculous to have so many teams and so many conferences that we know have no chance to do it. It's ridiculous. The system's broken right off the bat with that.
Well, when you have 134 teams too, Terry, we've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yes.
Oh my God, poor Vandy, Iowa, Vandy in the Mariah Quest Bowl. You've got to be kidding me.
Where is that located?
Diego got that's good. Oh wait, hold on. No, they were projected to play in the Taxpayer Bowl.
Okay, I've got the list here.
The Hawkeyes will play Vanderbilt in the ReliaQuest Bowl December 7th. The announcement.
Raymond James Stadium.
Raymond James, December 31st. So they got a December 31st game like Nebraska. Iowa did. But here's the problem. Vandy deserves better than boring-ass Iowa. I mean, Diego's going to come out and strut ass. And, yeah, Kiffin might be a ho-ho-ho, but he is going to win the SEC championship.
It's spelled Heaux, Dave.
Yeah, and by the way, Dave, he is going to take it to Ole Miss's ass. You tell Tep I said so, because y'all shit talkers down there in Oxford thinking that Big Game Lane 5-10 seasons wasn't good enough for y'all. So he took his ball and he went home. You start complaining, and he responded to you, spot the ball.
I'm afraid he's going to steal all of Auburn's receivers. I'll go ahead and say that.
And I'm going to tell you right now, Lane Kiffin is going to run the score up on Ole Miss, and it's not going to be pretty. because he's going to do it as the final fuck you to the powers that be in Oxford who decided he wasn't good enough to be their head football coach.
Well, apparently, though, there's a lot of players that came out and said we didn't want him to coach. So there's a lot of different information on that. But
I don't believe that. I don't
it
believe
is
that for
what
one
it is.
second. Because Lane Kiffin is the head coach at the University of Mississippi, gives them the best chance.
I like how he dated it. Oh, I'm listening to Screw You, Andrew, Teppy says.
I knew I'd get a rise out of the Ole Miss crowd. But
725.
Let's be very, very honest about it. Lane Kiffin gives Ole Miss the best chance to advance in this playoff and to go deep in this playoff and have an opportunity to beat Georgia in this playoff. Ole Miss should beat Tulane, but then they draw the dogs, and they got beat by the dogs with Lane Kiffin as their head coach. Now they got some goof from Alabama, former defensive coordinator, who's going to be the head coach. Get out of here. They don't have a prayer. They don't have a prayer against Kirby and the dogs.
They did flip. So Auburn had, I think he was a 4-star receiver, Jace Matthews, committed to Auburn for months. He was the top guy on offense, and Ole Miss of all teams came in and swooped him up at the last minute. Actually, beyond the last minute, because he didn't even announce until 2 days after the first day to sign. So maybe they got something cooking over there. I don't know. I wonder. Here's what I wonder. Nix, the offensive coordinator at Auburn this season, that did a pretty good job after Hugh Freeze got out of his way. He was at Ole Miss for a very long time before coming to Auburn, and I doubt that he's going to be retained. And I kind of wonder if he's just going to head over to Ole Miss, and that might be part of the reason that receiver went over
there. Could be. But I mean, I joke with them about Ole Miss and stuff, but I think they've made a critical mistake letting Lane Kiffin get away. And genuinely, seriously, really mean that. Lane Kiffin wins in Oxford. And now you've given him all the resources and money in the world in Baton Rouge. Now, to the point, it's going to be a lot brighter. The lights are a lot brighter in Louisiana than they are at Ole Miss. He's going to have a bigger microscope shoved up his ass, and they're going to be looking at everything he does at Louisiana State University. But they made a mistake letting him get away. And so did Penn State with James Franklin, because you hire Iowa State Matt Campbell away from Iowa State. Supposedly, Terry, they didn't even tell the players. The players found out on social media. I don't know how much I believe of that or not. But Matt Campbell is not a better coach than James Franklin. And the best part of the whole story is James Franklin hires the former head coach of Virginia Tech, who was his defensive coordinator at Penn State, who will now be his defensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. I love this so much. I cannot express it.
Yeah, I think realistically, to defend Dave here and what he's saying, and to kind of say maybe Lane was telling the truth a little bit about money's not going to pull him away. I think the fact that LSU can pay a lot more than Ole Miss can in NIL. Lane wants toys. He wants players that he can use on the field, and he thinks that LSU is going to give him that. And one thing I thought was funny, because his dad's gone, and he kept talking about that. He talked to Pete Carroll, he talked to Nick Saban, and he said something about Nick Saban told him to take the job. And Nick Saban had a quote, "I think Lane was confused." So I don't know if Nick is saying that he told him to take the job or not. But I agree with you. I love the Golish hire at Auburn. Thank you, Robert Poole. This is something that we've talked about a lot. We expected to get John Sumrall for a long time. And then from what I hear, on last Sunday, Auburn called Golish at 1 a.m. He was getting ready to sign with Arkansas. Auburn calls him at 1 a.m, and by the afternoon, he was signed and he was in Auburn. And that's how quick these things happen sometimes.
Well, Golish doesn't fucking golf. He doesn't fucking fish. The only thing he does is coach ball, and I'm waiting for one of them to show up in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's my favorite quote.
I love that we kept Durkin
Hogan.
too. I am concerned about, and I've said it a little bit, but I'm concerned because we have not heard anything solid about Deuce Knight. We haven't heard anything solid about Cam Coleman, and I will always expect the worst until the best happens.
Yeah. Well, as long as they don't become, Roll Tide.
Oh,
that guy doesn't know what to do. I mean, Nick
Oh,
Saban
those are the rumors that I hate the most. But like South Florida replaces him with Brian Hartline. That was a good hire for them. There's been a lot of movement lately. Kentucky replaced Stoops pretty well with Will Stein.
Will Stein out of Louisville, by the way, not Kentucky, but his family was Kentucky, so they are in. And he hired a defensive coordinator away from wherever he was. Colin Klein, you do not have on this list, Terry. Gone back to his alma mater at Kansas State because the current coach at Kansas State retired. Kansas State
we have a new one?
Yeah, Colin Klein is the former football coach. He raised hell in the Big 12 when he was QB there. And he was very good, but he is now the new head coach because Kleinman or Kilman or whatever his name is has retired from Kansas State.
Okay,
so
let me go to
him.
the next page. I did not even have Kansas State listed here. So the jobs that I show still looking are Washington State, Southern Miss, Tulane, Coastal Carolina, and UConn.
Well, what about back to Penn State? Did they get the least sexy hire based on? And I'm going to ask you a question genuinely. And I know that Bober ain't here to stir the pot and Coach Keith ain't here, which is unfortunate, but maybe they'll listen to us later and get back to us. They said James Franklin wasn't good enough to continue to coach their football program, and they bring somebody in with a very similar record against top 25 opponents, hasn't been to the playoffs, hasn't won a Big 12 championship. What is his recruiting background? Is he going to be any better than Franklin in that part of the country? Did Penn State back themselves into a corner, and this is their only way out?
You got to think so because the timing of it was a couple of days after National Signing Day where they had a big disaster. They thought they were going to hit on one of these 5 or 6 guys that they talked to that just got big raises. And, Sexton is just Jimmy Sexton just rolling in the money on this. He's
raking in his 6% or whatever it is, ain't he, Terry? 6% per contract.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But I think Penn State fans, from what I've seen, are saying, sure, they had similar records, but Penn State ain't Iowa State, and we got a lot more resources. So he'll have a better team just based on having more resources. We'll see.
On the other hand,
that happens. I don't know.
On the other hand, because we're talking about a team that's ACC champion is not in and Miami is, if the ACC doesn't figure it out, and I'm talking about North Carolina, I'm talking about Clemson, I'm talking about Miami, I'm talking about Florida State, James Franklin and Virginia Tech took the number 100 whatever recruiting class in the country and flipped so many recruits from Penn State to Virginia Tech. They followed the coach. We talk a lot about coaches on this show, Terry. They followed the coach to Virginia Tech to the point where he has a top 25 recruiting class.
Oh, yeah.
And Lane Kiffin, for his part, not to poke the bear that is Pondwater Dave, signed more 5-star recruits at Louisiana State University in 1 week than he did in 6 years at Oxford.
I'd be interested to see how many of those were retained from the Brian Kelly class that was being created, and how many that he pulled in afterward.
He did a lot of poaching. Lane did a lot of poaching. He can sit there and say he didn't, but he poached. And that he had the numbers for the Ole Miss players. Let's not lie about it. They're all going to do it. Mm-hmm. Summerall might have been in the best position because they had the least amount of Florida people decommit, but then Lagway entered the transfer portal yesterday or the day before. So what does that say?
Summerall said he was not going to take a single Tulane commit to Florida. He made that statement.
We'll see. What if they want to
At
transfer?
some point, you got to win some football games.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of good discussion there. I love it. We're talk about the coaching and the recruiting. We're going to talk about the playoffs next week. Allison will be back. We're going to talk
She's
John
gonna have to
Cena's.
suffer through it. Yeah.
We're going to talk John Cena's last match. He's going to be on Saturday night's main event against Gunther. For those of you playing along at home, the Ring General beat LA Knight as he should on SmackDown this past weekend. And apparently, we're getting Drew McIntyre versus the Chodester again. I don't know why, but we are. And on January the 6th, Netflix anniversary, we get Braun Breaker versus CM Punk for the world title. So that's what happened in wrestling this week.
Thanks
Terry,
for the
do we have
rundown.
any other football subjects before we get to the main event?
No,
this
we are
show?
all football this week, except for that 2 minutes that you quickly ran through there. And this week's main event, we are talking the greatest college football coaches of all time.
It's
And
me.
to be quite honest, as an Auburn fan, this is one of those that I hate to admit, but I've got to vote with my conscience here. I can't just leave some of these guys off because they truly are the greatest coaches. So you'll see me gritting my teeth on some of these along the way. That's all I'll say.
Well, Terry, let's be honest. Auburn had some decent coaches, but not apparently tenured enough to make the list. You put one on the list.
I put 3 on the list.
You put Pat Dye on the list.
I put Pat Dye, Mike Donahue, and Shug Jordan.
Okay. Terry put one Auburn coach on the list that I knew who the hell he was. That was Pat Dye. I don't know who the other ones are. But I also root for a university that had 2 coaches for a total of 35 years.
Right.
That won 5 national championships and 18 conference championships and ran the Big 8 against Oklahoma. So I don't know what that's like to have a lot of coaches until, 2000 and whatever, 7 or 8. So anyway, Terry, this is a great likeness of me. I want your view. I want you to explain to the listeners though why you think I would be a yeller as a head football coach.
I explained this to you in the comments. Why do you not think you're singing here? I think you're really belting it. You're so happy that your team's kicking ass, and you just wanted to belt out a song on the sidelines.
Oh, Teppy texted me, said we're having technical difficulties. Can you take a commercial break? It is Mississippi. What can they do? Yeah, usually it's me that's having technical difficulties on our end, but hopefully they
There were
can
a couple
join.
of moments one of us did. I don't know if it was you or me, but between the 2 of us.
It's definitely you because your screen froze.
Well, yours did too, but
I was alive and well, sir. Don't blame me.
I mean, you physically don't freeze when that happens.
This is correct. 2,097 options as head coaches on the list. That's not true. Terry put some good ones on here.
I put some you never heard of, but
yeah.
I did it based on an actual basis. I had a spreadsheet. I said anybody with 300 wins was going to be on the list. I don't care if they're Division III or not. And then I went through and I had some other criteria.
Well, the greatest college football coach of all time only had 255 wins, but he did it faster than anybody. And he won 3 national championships.
So we know who that he voted. He voted number 1.
Real men go for 2. I'll explain in a minute. Because he better be on this list or I'll be highly offended.
Well, let's see who missed the list, who just missed the list. Frank Leahy, John McKay, Urban Meyer, and Dabo Swinney. You like the picture of Dabo that I put on here?
Yeah, Urban Meyer, Dabo's still coaching. So that was another thing. We did put a couple active coaches on the list. I know that Kirby's on the list. Dabo's on the list. I find that interesting that our voters did not put Urban on the list. From Bowling Green to undefeated Utah to Florida, 2-time national champion with the Criminals and Pastor Tebow, and then on to Ohio State.
Well, here's another one. Since you said Ohio State, I'm going to go ahead and spoil this. Jim Tressel didn't even make the just missed the list part.
The senator Did not make the list, even though he had the 3 championships in Division III plus the one at Ohio State in 2002.
Right. And then Frank Leahy, Notre Dame. He played tackle at Notre Dame, coached at Notre Dame, 4 national championships. So if you don't know who he is, that's who he is.
But he was early, right? 60s, 70s,
He
or
was,
even
I
before
wanted to
then.
make sure, in the 40s.
40s rather, yeah. So he's the World War II Notre Dame national championships, or just
Right.
post World War II. And then John McKay is obviously what, Tennessee or Texas?
Texas.
Texas. I actually don't know him, but
So yeah, let me run down. I meant to look up some of this, but I'll look up some of it a little bit
Dabo's
now.
got championships in 16 and 18. He slayed the mighty Alabama. He had the good fortune of having 2 very good college
USC.
football coaches.
I knew I was wrong. Yeah, McKay is USC. He was USC from 59 to 75 and had 4 national championships at USC. So anybody that was a USC fan screaming at me when I said that, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but the orange did confuse. It was a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know John McKay, and I guess it's just because he's just outside the window. But obviously, USC has a ton of national championships. Again, Urban surprises me. Dabo's still writing his story. We'll see how that goes. But Terry, you're going to click the button since you're playing producer tonight. Who's number 10 on the list? The greatest football coaches of all time.
This one's a little bit of a shocker. He made the top 10. Bernie Bierman from Minnesota.
Okay, so the 1930s championships.
Yeah, so 5 national championships in the 30s and the beginning of the 40s.
Yeah, no, who gives a shit? Move on. Number 9.
Number 9, Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
Makes the top 10.
Now, hard to argue with Kirby Smart. I mean, obviously just won his first or second SEC championship, maybe third, but he's never beat Alabama in the SEC title till yesterday. 2-time national champion, produces big NFL guys, probably Nick Saban's greatest disciple and pupil, and is starting to write his own story. I mean, what's his win-loss percentage at Georgia, Terry? 80%? He's probably 80 or 85%
It's way
at Georgia.
Up there. He has lost very few games. I think he's lost 20 games total. And that includes the first
his
year.
First couple years weren't his first couple
right.
years were not.
It took him a couple of years to really. Because I remember. Here's the sad part. I'll see Facebook memories, and I'll see commenting on Kirby Smart. Maybe he's not as good as we thought he was, or something like that. I'm like, damn it! I just set myself up, didn't I?
Yeah, because let's face it, 2-time national champion, beat Alabama. Kirby Smart's win-loss record at Georgia is 116-20 with 2 national championships. And that's in 10 seasons, 85%. He's got the multiple SEC championships, of course, the Eastern title. Smart is still writing his story. He's 50 years old. 50.
Yeah.
This guy could move up a list if we did it 5 years from now, just based on, the consistency of the Georgia Bulldog football team. But great running backs, good defense, always aggressive. And the dude's a character. Like that's
why I picked a picture of him sticking his tongue out here.
If you listen to his halftime speeches, he talks about how the dogs are going to fucking eat and they're going to run through walls. And I mean, his wife gets on him for his language and everything else. But Kirby Smart is a football guy. We talk about Golich. All I know is ball. I think that's probably Kirby Smart. This is what he does. Eats, sleeps, and breathes football. And he played safety at Georgia. He's back at his alma mater. And it doesn't always work out, as you know, Terry. Going back to your alma mater to be the head football coach does not always work out.
It doesn't.
Because expectations are so high,
Right.
And Georgia, in their mind, has had bad seasons. Oh, you won 12 games and you didn't win the championship, so you've had a bad season at Georgia, I mean, what do you do there?
And that's the interesting thing. You talk about going to your alma mater doesn't always work out. Some of the bigger names just related to Auburn. So Vince Dooley, big time name at Georgia. He was a quarterback at Auburn. Pat Dye played at Georgia. coached at Alabama under Bear Bryant, became one of the best coaches in Auburn history. So they coached and became part of the legend of their rivals. And that is very interesting. You got Dabo Sweeney, an Alabama guy. He's made his
Yep.
whole career at Clemson.
To the point he's such an Alabama guy, they have a no Alabama clause in his contract,
Right.
which is crazy. But what's number 8?
Newt Rockne. Another Notre Dame guy, 3 national championships in the 20s and 1930.
Okay.
You're not impressed with the older guys, huh?
I'm not
the black and
impressed
white
with
football.
anything below modern college football. No. Does not impress me. Congratulations, Notre Dame. We must have some Notre Dame homers voting for on our poll.
What we don't seem to have is a lot of Ohio State folks because Urban
Oh,
Meyer did not make the top 10 and Jim Tressel did not make the top 15.
Woody Hayes, who knows? Number 7, Terry.
Number 7, Lou Holtz.
Another Notre Dame guy. But
And
also,
really, I was a little
Carolina.
surprised he's so high, but people know him
Yeah.
and they've watched him on TV and they like his personality. And I think that's why he ends up here because I don't think, based on his resume, he is the number 7.
No, 100 wins at Notre Dame. I know it's over
championship.
one national champion, 88 or 89, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is in between the Miami championships. And, you know, Holtz, he caught lightning in a bottle that season, but he's coached at South Carolina. He's coached at Arkansas, I think it was.
Yeah, Arkansas.
And he is a mediocre football coach that won a national championship. There are several of them. He happens to be one of them. GOAT status, not Lou Holtz. As entertaining as he is making fun of Ryan Day and Ohio State, that's he's great at. College football, greatest of all time, does not belong on this list. Let's go to number 6 before I lose my shit.
Number 6, Barry Switzer from Oklahoma.
Yeah, let's go for some Sooner magic. You know, the wishbone, Nebraska versus Oklahoma, Thanksgiving Day, the real game. Fuck all you Ohio State, Michigan people. It was Oklahoma, Nebraska before it was Ohio State, Michigan. And I'll stand on business on that because that game determined for 25 years who was going to the Orange Bowl to face one of the teams, Miami or Florida State, most often. So Switzer, also a criminal, and one of only 3, fun fact for all of you out there, one of only 3 coaches in history to win both the NCAA championship as well as an NFL championship. Switzer did it with the Dallas Cowboys, Pete Carroll, USC, and the Seahawks, and of course, Jimmy Johnson with Miami and the Dallas Cowboys. Only 3 have ever won both, and Switzer is one of them. Now, I will argue for all you Cowboys fans out there, he did it with Jimmy Johnson's football team, but in 1995, 96 rather. He did it with Jimmy Johnson's football team, but he did win the world championship. But yeah, Switzer could have shot somebody in Main Street in Norman, Terry, and they would have renewed his contract. You know, I mean, and they could have had him guilty. Yeah, but that was how good he was and how important he was. And they ran the wishbone. Which was the counter to the option that Osborne ran for so long. And, I mean, you talk about some fun games. Go back and watch Nebraska, Oklahoma. You talk about some old school, run the ball, trick plays, special teams, defenses coming up with a stop. Every down matters football games, like what we saw last night against Indiana, Ohio State. That's what it was. Anyway.
Very decorated program, and Barry Switzer is a huge part of that.
Yep.
Number 5, here we go. Woody Hayes, the Ohio State representative in the top 10 here. Woody Hayes, 5 national championships between 1954 and 1970.
Yeah. Yeah, and really put Ohio State on the map. As far as the, you know, they're where they are now in a football program. And I think Urban's probably a better X's and O's football coach than he was, but according to our voters, he's number 5. So, I won't get hung up on Ohio State for too long here.
I think national championship numbers really, for those that may not know all the, good Lord, Dave. Sorry. Dave's bringing in the Freebird. He found a way to bring the Freebirds into the conversation.
WCCW somehow had to make the conversation, didn't it? Good Lord.
But I think the national championship numbers, and there are some ridiculous, like you said, there are some pretty ridiculous national championship numbers from long, long ago that are like, but what sport were you even playing?
Yeah.
Now, Woody Hayes is not that old, but 5 national championships for Ohio State over his tenure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not opposed to Woody Hayes being on this list at all by any means.
Right. And he belongs here. Yeah. I'm a little surprised the other 2 weren't higher.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Tom Osborne.
Y'all wrong for this. This is number 1. This is number 1. The man behind me right here. That's the Oklahoma game, 1997. Nebraska wins 60 whatever to 7. That's win number 250. He did it faster than everybody. 25 winning seasons, 12-13 in bowl games, 3-3 in national championship games. Last 5 seasons went 60-3. Tom Osborne. I know there's one guy better than him, but I don't believe there's 2 or 3. Tom Osborne established the idea of building a program in college football. He's the one who created the walk-on program. You don't get a scholarship, but you walk on. You earn your right to play. You're going to sit as a freshman and a sophomore. You're going to play as a junior and a senior, unless your name is Amon Green, and then you're going to play. But Tom Osborne built the program where you have red shirts. Then you have 2 years and 3 years of sitting behind the guy in front of you to learn. He built the pipeline. Offensive linemen that are 300 pounds that run sub 540s. He built the idea of a rushing attack with the power I formation. He's the reason that Bob Devaney won 2 national championships in 1970 and 71. Tom Osborne is the reason that there was a scholarship rule change. And Osborne is a guy who fundamentally taught football, and he was a coach's coach. He did not rely on the program. He relied on the coach. Tom Osborne was the offensive coordinator of the Nebraska Cornhuskers from 1968 till he retired in 1997. As the head football coach, he called every play. Every single play Tom Osborne called that won and lost national championships. And the last reason that Tom Osborne is number 1, in 1983, Nebraska has the greatest offense ever assembled up to that time in the scoring explosion, led by Turner Gill and Mike Rozier. Had some guy named Roger Craig on the football team. He went to San Francisco, won a couple championships. Maybe you guys have heard of him. That team goes and plays number 5 Miami in the Orange Bowl. A couple of other teams had lost along the way. Nebraska storms back and loses the game 31-30 because instead of kicking a PAT and tying the game and winning a national championship on a tie, because remember, Nebraska was number 1 and there was no overtime at the time, he went for 2. Nebraska loses 30-31, and Miami wins their first of 4 national championships in the 1980s. Real men go for 2. Tom Osborne.
And I'll just say,
and the things that he did, all these other schools have carried on 30 and 40 years later.
And you said it. Miami was number 5. Auburn was number 3 and won their football game. I'm just going to point out the facts there, and we'll stick with that, and we'll move on.
Yeah, well, your Auburn championship, one of them, well, actually, it was Clemson. It wasn't Auburn. I was going to say Clemson stole a national championship from Nebraska in 1980 with Danny Ford. But
I'm also a proponent of, I hate the NCAA and their lack of a spine. So I am for any school claiming any national championship they want to, just to show how stupid the NCAA is. But anyway, Here we go. Number 3, Bobby Bowden.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the one that you didn't think of that was ahead.
No. I mean, they had 14 consecutive top 5 finishes, but
Right.
Bowden only won 2 national titles, 1993 and 1999. And in
That's right.
1993, he stole it from Nebraska. But they also
Auburn claims that one too.
they were also their
And that
own
was Terry Bowden.
undoing. Yeah, they were also their own undoing in that they kicked the ball out of bounds at the 40 after a field goal, and they're up 16-15 and lose the game 18-16 in 1993. But Bobby Bowden did provide Nebraska with the greatest inspiration of all time in unfinished business. But yeah, it's hard to argue that Bobby Bowden isn't on this list up there. And obviously it's Bear Bryant and then Nick Saban now that I think about it. But that's bullshit too, because Bear couldn't have outcoached Osborne, and we'll get there in a second. And the fact that Devaney didn't make this list, and I'm going to talk to you about 71 in a second when you get to Bear Bryant there, Terry. But 14 consecutive top 5 finishes for Bobby Bowden. And could have gone back-to-back 99, 2000, but in 2000 they ran into the Oklahoma Sooners. Bob Stoops is not on this list.
Yeah.
Played in 4 national championship games, 750 or 800 win-loss record at Oklahoma, 1 national championship in his second year. But Bowden took forever to win a national championship. It took him to 93. And in that 93 game, they were a 17-point favorite to beat Nebraska, and they beat them 18-16 because they overlooked the defense of Nebraska. And then 99, obviously, they ran into Michael Vick and Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer, but they just outlasted them in the fourth quarter of that national championship game.
And Paterno's not on here. We discussed that a little bit before we started recording. I guess it was before we started recording that, Paterno for a long time toward the end of his career just kind of set up in the booth and didn't even stay up there for the whole game. So I don't know if we got any Penn State fans. I know that we have some people that watch us that hate Penn State.
Right.
Bober's not here tonight, but I did get in an argument with a guy at work over that because he was a Penn State alum.
Yeah, 416 wins for Joe Paterno, 2 national championships, but at the end of the day, Paterno didn't coach for the last 20 years of his head coaching tenure at Penn State. Nobody will ever convince me otherwise. So let's go on and get to Bear Bryant at number 2.
Number 2, Bear Bryant.
That's bullshit, but that's okay. Bear Bryant, one of the Devaney's last games. Actually, it was the second national championship season. Alabama, the mighty Alabama takes on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 1971 for the 71 championship. I guess it was 72, but anyway. It was a Sugar Bowl, I think. Nebraska beats them 35-6. Bob Devaney secures national championship number 2. Bob Devaney also secures victories over number 2, 3, and 4 that year to become national champions as number 1. So Nebraska in 1971 beat the numbers 2, 3, and 4 teams at the end of the season, including Alabama.
So Bear Bryant, 6 national championships between 1961 and 1979, and won as a player in 1934.
Yeah, I mean, I can joke and mess around with Bear Bryant, but it's, at that point too, you're getting into the generations of football, Terry, where Osborne and Bowden are far more contemporaries than Osborne, Bowden, and Bryant. Bryant was coaching football during a much different
rules were
era.
Way different. I mean, you could stockpile talent and just not play guys.
Yeah.
And this was the very reason that Georgia Tech left the Southeastern Conference, was because their coach complained and said, we need to change some of the rules. And they refused to do it. So Georgia Tech left the conference. Well, guess what? All those rules that he wanted to be in place, they're in place now and beyond that.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just a different era of football. It's like I jokingly we laughed about the Notre Dame coach and the Minnesota coach.
Right.
Okay, football was much different in 1937, 8, and 9, and yes, Dave, we're getting to 7 national championship winning Nick Saban. And there's no reason he's not number 1 on the list. But
he is. There he is holding the crystal football there.
And it's amazing about Nick Saban. And if you guys have been longtime listeners of this show, you've heard me and Terry very respectfully talk about Nick Saban. Even Terry is an Auburn fan. Me as a fan of Nick Saban because he reminds me so much of what Coach Tom Osborne did at Nebraska. heavy run defenses or heavy run, good defenses, play special teams that don't make tons of mistakes, except for that kick six. Let's not talk about that, Terry. The kick six in the Iron Bowl. But they didn't make a lot of mistakes under Saban. They played disciplined football. The man coached 17 years at Alabama, and they lost 29 games. 29 games. And a couple of those were national championship games that he lost.
Right.
But make no mistake about it. Like Bear Bryant, who went from Kentucky to Alabama, and it took the leap for him to become the big gun. Saban's leap was from Michigan State as a mediocre 600 coach to LSU. And LSU is what put Nick Saban on the map.
Right.
Not his tenure at Michigan State. Not his tenure with the Cleveland Browns, and certainly not his tenure with the Miami Dolphins. But Terry, you and I've talked about it. We had a whole Saban show for anybody that wants to go back and listen to the archives. And this isn't to
I don't know what episode it was. The first episode we ever did after football season. Whenever.
Yeah, they're bullshit though, Dave, because Tom Osborne's number one, not Nick Saban. But that's because I grew up as a Tom Osborne guy. Anyway, with Saban though, we talked about this on his show, when you win 10 SEC championships at Alabama, and then he won the 2 at LSU, you win 7 national titles. Every class that he had at Alabama won a national championship if they were there for 4 years. Every single class he had won a national championship. They did not. And Terry hates this as an Auburn guy, but nobody wanted to see Nick Saban on the sideline because he was worth 14 points. His presence on the other side of the field was an automatic 14 points.
You know what's interesting, and just in comparison's sake, we've had the debate about Alabama being in the playoff or not. I was really surprised. Mark Ingram, there's not a former Alabama player that's got more Alabama in them than Mark Ingram. He was arguing against Alabama making the playoff yesterday, with Urban Meyer arguing that they should be in it. And I thought that was shocking to me because I never expected that from Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Because
the only one that maybe more Alabama than him is AJ McCarron. Maybe.
We'll see if he wins his election.
Yeah. But this is the thing too. Saban, has kind of set the standard. Football has changed. The way you're supposed to play defense has changed. Hitting the quarterback has changed. He managed to make it through all those changes. What he didn't survive was the NIL. So Saban probably could have coached another 5 or 10 years, and God knows how many national championships Alabama could have. Georgia wouldn't have beat him yesterday. Georgia can't beat Alabama in the SEC title game if Nick Saban's the head football coach. Does not happen, will not happen. Yeah, I had Bowden at 3 and Switzer at 4, Dave. Also, just to mention, Terry, Steve Spurrier did not make this list, and he was my number 5.
Yeah.
Pretty tough crowd, but some of it's because you guys voted on who won national championships.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I didn't have enough room to put really, because there's a lot of different stats that could have been put with them, because I wanted to put something just to be informative, but I couldn't really put, I guess I put the number of wins and the number of national championships. Because Spurrier wasn't winning a bunch of national championships, but he won a bunch of SEC championships.
Yeah, they won 4 consecutive SEC championships from 1993 to 1996.
Yeah. So when you just look at the stats that I showed, they don't look all that impressive, but Florida was the SEC at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it was big in '92 when Alabama beat them unexpectedly and won the national championship.
And then Gene Stallings won a national title against Miami.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, Saban number 1, obviously, I think Osborne at 4 is way too low, but I mean, if he's going to get beat by Bowden and Bryant, I'm okay with it. There are names that surprised me that did not make this list, and Steve
Yeah.
Spurrier is one of them.
Well, and Lou Holt's a little bit high here, like we said.
I mean, Lou Holt's on this list. Steve Spurrier's not. Urban Meyer's not. Frank
and probably
Beamer.
Kirby Smart and Bernie Bierman. I'm surprised who's voting for this old Minnesota guy. I don't know, but we've got a lot of different people voting on this. We really appreciate your perspective. Let me run it down. Number 10, Bernie Bierman. Number 9, Kirby Smart. Number 8, Newt Rockney. Number 7, Lou Holtz. Number 6, Barry Switzer. Number 5, Woody Hayes. Number 4, Tom Osborne. Number 3, Bobby Bowden. Number 2, Bear Bryant. And number 1, no big shocker, Nick Saban.
And did you notice, Terry, despite the fact they have all the national championships and the victories and the swagger, there's not one Miami coach on this list. No Jimmy Johnson, no Larry Coker, no Dennis what's his
Erickson.
face? Or Erickson, yeah, that Nebraska beat in the 90s.
Yep.
I mean, that they didn't make the list. I wonder why.
Nobody likes Miami. That's why. I did say when we were in Charlotte, some random guy was coming up and talking to us, and he had a Miami hat on, and I had an Auburn hat on. And he said something, and I was like, man, I actually, first time in my life, met a real live Miami fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're out there, just like the Nebraska fans. We're out there. We're everywhere, Husker Nation. Terry, 90 minutes on football. Allison would be proud. We stayed like
we kind of went through the games pretty quickly. We didn't have a bunch of them. We didn't belabor the point.
No, I think though, and this is just to prepare our listeners for this because you're already starting to see it. The transfer portal opening January the 4th or January the 2nd, I guess it is. That's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
I need a graphic for that.
Oh, good luck. You're going to need a spreadsheet. You're going to need a book.
It's probably just a count, like a spinning clock counting the number.
Because let's face it, they're going to be moving every which way. And there's still 12 teams playing for the national championship. Now, granted, only 8 of them probably have a real shot at winning said national championship. Yeah. No, Dave, I'm gonna make a clip specifically for you and Teppy for Big Game Lane at LSU. Everybody hop on the Lane train. Because let's face it, apparently too, Terry, I have somehow managed to burn 100 move calories sitting in this chair talking.
You're passionate about this subject.
This is my thing. This is my shit, and y'all did Tom dirty. But I guess since he retired in 1997, if you're going to put those 3 coaches above him, that's pretty good. So
yeah,
he retired. The question was with Saban. Not all joking aside, the question was with Saban is how many more national championships could he win? Tom Osborne was a part of all 5 of Nebraska's national championships, over 300 academic All-Americans. Like I said, 18 conference championships, all the rushing titles that he was an offensive coordinator on to the head coach. He retired at 60 years old. Imagine, the man is still alive. Right. I mean, he looks a little bit like death warmed over, but he is still alive.
I did see some of those pictures where he's a little older, yeah.
How many championships could Tom Osborne have won at Nebraska for another decade? Because in the 90s, that was the program. Mm-hmm. That was. But my point about the transfer portal, Nebraska's losing 3 offensive linemen, probably a quarterback. They're definitely losing the running back to the NFL. And they're not losing a head football coach.
Right.
Did you say there were 32 new head coaches?
I don't know. I don't know what we counted.
I thought that's earlier. What you said. 32.
Oh, I've forgotten. That was.
Or maybe there will be 32 by the time they fill. My point is, the minute they fired those coaches, the transfer portal's open. They're available to leave.
Yeah.
And, like we've seen DJ Lagway and we've seen Jackson Arnold already enter the transfer portal. It's not even open. So you're only going to see more of that. And I'm only mentioning that because that's going to be, other than the bowl games, that's going to be the football for the next month, is who's in the transfer portal and who's not. So
That's
anyway,
right.
talking wrestling with our partners, Amy and Dave, on Markout Moments. Dave, do you know what Dave's talking about this week?
I have not talked to Dave today. Sorry about that. Do you have an update on what you guys are going to do this week? I believe Amy may be out of pocket this week. It may just be Dave and a microphone
Oh,
this week.
yes, I know what this is. This is Dave, and it's going to be Dave and maybe a microphone, and it's going to be the Russian chain or dog collar match, rather. Greg Valentine, Roddy Piper, Starcade 83. Do your homework. I remember I listened to the show the other day. Actually, I think I
Excellent.
watched it. I didn't listen to it. I usually watch on YouTube.
Awesome.
That's a great way too, because they play trivia, and so you get to be able to read the questions. You don't just hear them.
And
So
I
maybe it
love this
helps.
format, Dave. Y'all are doing really good things with this anatomy of a specialized match thing you guys are doing.
Yeah, and
Really,
this one, I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, and most wrestling fans have, Valentine and Piper beat the ever living crap out of each other at Starcade 83. He's a one-man show this weekend. What day is it? Tuesday or Wednesday, Dave? Because they change days too. If it's Tuesday or Wednesday, please let us know. But yeah, that's going to be fun to listen to and watch, and of course participate in. Like us, they do the live comments. They stream right there on YouTube.
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, it's going to be the anatomy of the dog collar match.
Excellent.
Piper versus Valentine. Probably Greg Valentine's most famous match of all time. And he was a United States champion, tag champion, a mechanic, a really good professional wrestler for a long time. But this is the one people remember because of the way he bloodies Piper's ear. And the way they get to that, very impressive, particularly for 1983. Dusty's big show, Starcade, the backdrop, of course, his job interview with Jim Crockett Promotion. So that'll be fun. I recommend you all see it.
That's right.
Watch it.
And as far as our show for the rest of the year, we did this one without Allison. We went all football while she's gone. Next week, I've already prepared the list. I'll get this one out early for a change. We're going to do the top 10 cell phone games. And Andrew said he watches reels. He doesn't really play cell phone games. The reason we swapped with Allison gone, I didn't think that would be great for just me and Andrew to talk about cell phone games and him to not have a lot of experience with that. So we will push that to next week. We'll let you guys vote on that. The week after that, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do for the poll, but then there will be a final on the 28th, I think, a final show on the 28th, and we will do the best of 2025. I know some of you guys gave us some feedback last year that you enjoyed the best of 2024 list. So we'll do the same thing for this year. And that'll be the end of the year. And we will start 2026 with a bang.
And it's going to be a bang bang. Yeah, I'm not really into the cell phone games. I played Angry Birds. I've played Candy Crush.
It's on the list. It's on the
And they're
list too.
old games. But
Well,
Angry Birds.
hey, Snake's going to be one of the options. So if you want old games, we even got Nokia.
Oh, what game is it?
Snake.
Oh,
old folks know.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, the Nokia's as a brick, like legitimately.
Oh,
that phone was a brick.
You could throw that thing against the wall.
Yeah, and it weighed 8 pounds, and it was smaller than the cell phone I'm holding in my hand, but it weighed 8 pounds.
That's right. So that'll be a good one. We'll get the cell phone list out earlier than we normally do. Try to get it out there. I bought one of those big wall calendars, the digital calendars. So I'm actually able to plan these things out better now. So it's not just my squirrely thought process in my head trying to keep up with this anymore. So I can actually see the next few weeks, and I've got tasks on there for what we're doing. So this is going to be what I'm telling you is this thing's going to open it up for us, and it's going to be awesome.
Terry is a psycho about his scheduling. I'm just saying, he's an absolute psycho. Like I am very organized. I am not Terry organized. There's a difference.
Well, the reason is I've got to organize somewhere, and inside this head of mine is not organized at all.
Yeah. And he does have 2 sons, and they have other things they do, and,
So, yeah.
it's
Yeah, that calendar is filled up with indoor soccer for the next couple of months too,
imagine that.
because we do not stop playing soccer at all, maybe for a
Mm-mm.
week or two. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for voting. Excellent list. We got through it a lot quicker than normal. Proud of us for that because we love football. Thanks for the names of the people that showed up that we had not had on here before. So that was good. Um, Dave, as always, we saw Alex. Uh, and we're coming up on Christmas. We hope everybody's doing well. You're able to do the things you want to do for the holidays. We just had Thanksgiving. We love you guys. We really appreciate the support that you give us. And we hope you have a really Merry Christmas. And we will continue to say that through the end of the year. But as always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody.